Kaal Sarp Dosha. This is one yoga which has all sorts of misconceptions, fears, misinformation surrounding it. Okay? People say that if you have Kaal Sarp Dosha, actually it's a Kaal Sarp yoga, but anything that does not work out well most of the time, I have seen in astrology, people have a tendency to call it a dosha. But it is important for us to understand the true nature of that, what it is, instead of just calling it a dosha. Because as long as you're saying that it's a dosha, you will only think about it negatively. And with Kaal Sarp Dosha, what happens is, this yoga, whenever you have planets on one side of Rahu-Ketu in your chart and not of the other. So all of the planets, if they come on one side of the chart, divided by Rahu-Ketu, we call it Kaal Sarp Yoga. Now, it is said to make life very difficult for the native. It is said that, this is an unlucky yoga which creates all sorts of difficulties, problems, life issues with the native if he or she has it in their chart. The reality is, if you actually try to understand what this yoga is truly about, it's not so much as being unlucky or having bad luck or being cursed, but this yoga indicates lopsided development. See, all of the planets and their placement in the chart, their placement in the houses, points out to a set of qualities that the native has or doesn't. For example, if you have Mars in the third house, then that basically implies that a lot of your aggression, a lot of your drive, a lot of your focus is very hands-on. You're able to use it and apply it in courageous ways, because third house is also the house of courage, the house of action, the house of self-efforts. So let's say you have Mars there, then it shows that this is a quality you have as an individual. You're very driven, you're very courageous. You can take a lot of risks. Sometimes you can be a bully too. Okay? In the same way, all of the other planetary placements, wherever they're placed in the chart, they indicate some sort of qualities. So when you have Kaal Sarp Yoga, basically, the native has majority of the qualities in one area of their life. Majority of their strengths lie in one area of their life. And they're not so good at the other aspects. For example, if you have Rahu in the ascendant and therefore Ketu in the 7th house and you have Kaal Sarp Yoga, then you have the 7 planets, Sun, Mars, Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, Moon. You have them on one side of the chart. Let's say they're on the left side of the chart, occupying, any houses between the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th and the 6th house. It shows that domestic affairs, creativity and all of those things, they come naturally to you. Managing resources of the home, managing tasks of the home, all of them come naturally to you. But when it comes to the outer world, when it comes to your career, when it comes to your reputation, when it comes to work, network circles, things like that, that's where you can sometimes be clueless and make glaring mistakes. Okay? But what I have seen is that most of these people, they're so good in one area of their life, they don't really need to focus that much on the other area. They bring the flavor of those areas in of their lives into whatever they're doing. So for example, in the example of this native who has Rahu in the 1st, Ketu in the 7th, all planets to the left side of the chart, that means all planets in the 2nd to 6th houses. This sort of a person is so good at managing affairs of the home, running the home, domestic life, that this person can be a great bread and breakfast owner or a great hotelier. They can run a great store or shop or showroom. That comes so naturally to them. They can own lots of properties, rent them out to Airbnbs and things like that. Or they could run a car rental service or something of that sort. You get it? So it's not really that Kaal Sarp Yoga in your chart gives you some sort of a bad luck. No, you just need to be conscious of where your strengths lie, and you need to learn to play to your strengths. And actually, it's no surprise that a lot of the people who I have seen with this yoga, they tend to be business people, and they tend to be people, who run businesses from their home. Yeah, they can be homemakers, but in some way I've always seen them be involved with running a home-based business or a family business, or they're involved in the family business if they have this sort of a combination as I described. Okay, but also you can find high achievers who are not that good in their domestic lives, or not that good in in terms of their relationships, etc., things like that. And so that is where we know if they try to get married and they're not able to get married, then they blame it. Oh, I have this yoga in my chart, it's creating these problems for me, and that is why I'm not able to do it. That's not the case. Okay, all I want to say is that if you have this yoga in your chart, don't get worried. Don't go crazy thinking that there's something bad with you, that there is something unlucky going on in your life. Yes, you can get a puja done if you want in Nashik. Nashik is where the main temple is for placating this yoga. But most of the time, if you go there to get one puja done, the priest over there, they will somehow rope you in and make you do all sorts of unnecessary pujas. Okay, it's up to you if you can handle it. Great. What I would suggest as a practical advice for anybody who has this yoga in their chart is that you need to make a list of your strengths and weaknesses. Pick your strengths and learn to play to your strengths in every decision that you take. As long as you do that, your life will go fine. Ultimately, after you're like 48, 50, because by that time the nodes mature. So if the nodes have matured, any sort of a yoga or any sort of a problem that they had been causing, it's placated to a huge extent. Okay, so later on in life, then you can venture into the other areas, on the other side of the chart. Okay, because your main purpose in the world is to execute your karma through whatever is available to you. That's what you have to do. That's what we're missing most of the time. That's why we're unhappy. Our job is to look at the strengths that have been given to us and to use them to build whatever it is that we seek to build. Okay? So that is something, there's a general for no matter whatever yoga you have in your chart. But for this yoga especially, I have elaborated and I've shared, what you can do with it. And that's it. Obviously, pouring water on the shivling is good. If you can do that regularly, that is great. Chanting Om Namah Shivaya using a Panchmukhi Rudraksh rosary every day can be great. These are things that can really help you out. Okay? But more than anything else, you have to learn to stick to your strengths. That's it. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel so that you can stay abreast of all the wonderful content that I post here. Push the bell icon so that you can be notified every single time I post. Thank you so much. Take care. Hari Om.